Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Dirty Side of the Grid podcast, where we've turned up late to qualifying, but no, Michael, this isn't right! And now we're in P1. If you get that reference, if you don't get that reference, go watch like the highlights of the last race of last season, and you'll fully understand there.
Do you know what the best part is? That's the first time you've done the intro in one go.
I know.
That first take. Incredible scenes.
But anyways, this episode we're going to be discussing the 2022 regulations. That intro is just stupid.
that TikTok, if it doesn't get like 3k views.
And we're going to be talking about like what's different from last year, what's improved, what to expect from the cars, and hopefully losing, you know.
Bro, you can't keep using that same thing for
No, but your
You've
face
done
is
it like
just
4 times in 5 minutes.
Your face is too funny. Your face is too funny. If you start reacting, I'll stop doing it. It just annoys you too much, doesn't it?
Oh, I see.
Anyways.
Right.
Language.
Nah, you didn't hear that, it's fine. You didn't hear it.
Anyways, where are we starting?
Alright, well, I guess the main thing that we've mentioned quite a few times as part of the regulations, and one of the main things is the... Shall we start with the... We'll go over the Aero, because it's what makes the cars look different.
Yeah.
So this current generation of F1 cars started technically in 2017, because they made the cars from extremely skinny to these really fat ones. You see the fat tyres, the fat aero, the huge deep wings, which used to be a lot higher and skinnier. And these were made just to make the cars faster. They just wanted F1 cars to be a bit quicker, but it kind of ruined the racing. So do you reckon that they'll actually improve the racing now that they've changed the aerodynamics?
I think they've had a few years to look at the aerodynamics. And I think probably like simpler aerodynamics. They've changed the kind of philosophy of how the car generates downforce. So like they brought out, like I think people think like they got all this new technology, but in reality it's just recycled really old tech. Like Venturi tunnels were used in like the 70s, I think.
80s, I think. Yeah, end of 70s probably.
Yeah, so all of this is not new, it's been there, but I think the idea of just stripping it down, like teams were investing way too much money to bargeboard areas. Like, and it was just, it didn't look nice. Like, the cars just looked bad. I think this is the first time where I've seen them go with new regulations to slow the cars. I think the cars are not going to be, like, slower that much, but as in, slow the cars down with the aim of making them, more competitive, essentially.
Yeah.
And that has been the whole outlook on, like, everything going into the season, not just the aerodynamics, but also, like, the budgets and everything like that. And so it's interesting. I'm interested to see like how it reacts. Obviously, I don't think we'll know until the cars are on like the racetrack.
No, yeah. All of this is speculation.
Yeah, I think like people have speculated, they're going to be very bad at following, and some people are saying it's going to be amazing at following. Some say that it's very bad based on like simulation work. But at the end of the day, simulation work is based on like it's not fully accurate.
Yeah, true.
And like driving a simulator is very different to jumping in a car and actually driving the car. So I think I'll be interested to hear what they say at the drivers after testing, essentially, their first testing
True,
session.
that would be very interesting to see what they say. But I mean, to put some numbers on it, the 2019 cars, when they're one car length behind another one, so about 2 meters, they lose 45% of their downforce, which is loads, and even...
It's about half.
Yeah, so they lose half of their performance lost within one car length. So if you're trying to follow someone between a bunch of corners, it's a long day for you. But in theory now, with the testing they've done on the new cars, obviously all simulation based, and this isn't from the teams, this is from F1 themselves, they're saying the new loss is now 14%.
It's also supported by wind tunnel testing.
Yeah.
So, but I think 14% I think is too optimistic. Like, I think it probably...
As with anything in testing and theory and stuff, it's
I think,
always a little
but
bit
even if you say, like, if it shoots by, like, say, 11%, that's still 25%. That's still an improvement of 20% on cars that are in front of you.
Yeah, so yes.
That is an improvement of 20% is huge. Like, you go from losing, like, you go to losing 25% instead of nearly 50%, like...
So you go from losing half field to a quarter. It's big gains in one thing.
I think obviously like this is just the start of them improving it. There's always going to be the case of the car behind is going to be losing some downforce.
Yeah,
just
they'll always do
like
that,
physically, that's how it is. But I think as we go along, they're just going to chip at it. And I think it's a good idea in the sense I actually really like the idea of this new aerodynamics. Even if it doesn't fully work, like even if it's like say 35%, so it's only or even if it's 40%,
yeah,
the shift essentially from the F1 organization essentially from looking at it as we just want quicker cars to we want to improve the racing. I think that's amazing because now it's the focus is improve the racing for the fans.
Yeah. As with Liberty Medias, they've been trying to do in all aspects.
Let's
we've seen what they've done, but this seems like it's a good way of doing it. Rather than just making the cars faster, which is great, it's making the racing more entertaining is quite good. But I do feel like they're limiting the engineers somewhat because I know that this time.
Most of the cars standardized,
so they're saying that not only are the rules like a lot more than they used to be. Like I think Adrian Newey said this is the biggest set of rules since. It might have been ever since the 80s. I think it was. There was a certain regulation change in the 80s. He said this is the biggest one since then, which is insane. And on top of that, I think they've done. If certain teams find like loopholes that F1 is not a fan of, I'm pretty sure they can just cut them off immediately. Like, you don't have to... They don't say anymore, oh, yeah, you get this for the rest of the year. They just say, right, we don't like that, we're going to get rid of it.
Yeah, I think I don't like... They're going more towards, say, IndyCar, where it's becoming more of a spec series. Which I totally... Because, Formula 1 is about which team has the best car. And that's not the case in other formulas. And, by you essentially doing the... standardizing the gearbox and standardizing so many aspects of the car, where can we actually gain performance?
Yeah, so a spec series, I just realised people might not know what that means. A spec series is when you have imagine everyone is driving a Nissan Micra. So imagine all the drivers get shoved in a Nissan Micra and they're going around the track. So it's purely based on driver performance. But with F1, the whole point is there's meant to be creativity with the engineers, there's meant to be a difference. So the cars are meant to vary in performance anyway. Some cars are meant to be better than others. But I feel like with all of these regulations, they're probably limiting that quite a lot.
Yeah, but I think also in the second sense, it's always the engineers are always going to complain. This is too restrictive, this is this. So you don't really know how bad it is until you're actually the engineer designing the car. But I reckon it's probably I don't think it's that bad, but we don't really know. So
okay. Well, two things that we do know will be it's one of them's more certain than the other one. We'll start off with the less certain one, because there's now less downforce being generated. Well, so with the way that the downforce works, if they're going at slow speed, they're saying the cars are less predictable, and they're harder to control. Will they be worse at slow speed now? Because it sounds like with the tyre difference...
Even if it's slower, worse at slow speeds, just remove slow speed races. So Monaco goes. Yes!
Nah, there's no way.
Yes, I'm satisfied. If Monaco goes, that's just the best day of my life.
Do you reckon there'll be loads of crashes at Monaco? Because the thing is, so what I'm trying to say is with the tyre performance and the way they've changed that, we'll kind of mention it in a little bit later.
I was just joking.
On top of the change in aero, if the car's more unpredictable and they're easier to crash at slow speed, and they're harder to control and all of this rest of the stuff, I'm sure that they'll try and change things.
Yeah, new regulations will come in, obviously. New regulations.
Yeah, and the car setups will change and blah blah and all of this and tyre pressures, but
F1, I think one thing is F1 has all the data that comes from the teams in general. They can look at all the data. Yeah. So they can look at all the data and be okay, say this is the reason. And they have loads of engineers just focusing on all of this stuff. So I think over the next few years you expect that the regulations are a bit flawed. Very flawed. Yeah. And then over 6-7 years they kind of extract the most out of these regulations. So Mercedes extracted the most probably out of the last 8 years. And then going into the next regulations, you get same thing, totally new regulations. A lot of stuff is unexplored, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, and then the second thing, that's I can definitely word a bit better. Without all of these little pieces of the barge board in the front wing, because everything's a lot simpler now. damage means that you won't get these little bits of carbon fibre flying onto the track. So if there's less debris, does that mean now we'll get less, VSCs, safety cars, that kind of thing? Because they won't need that many marshals to clean up the track anymore.
I like how you wrote less bits equals less.
I'm trying to put it simply in my notes.
But I get what I mean. Like, obviously, if something breaks, it's going to be something critical now. It's not going to be like... Like, say if your barge board area broke off, it's obviously, it's important, but it's like you can still go on. But like,
Max got, 9th or something.
Yeah, but, it was very slow. But as in, he had, very, very bad damage. But as in, you don't get a lot of these, very fiddly bits. And so you don't get these tiny pieces of debris everywhere. Rather, if a front wing breaks, a front wing broke.
Yeah,
and,
you go in, you grab the front wing, and then you
you leave. So I think in terms of this, it's probably safer for the marshals, the drivers, and everyone involved. Probably
you won't see bits flying about and stuff in people's faces. But do you have any predictions for which I don't want to do predictions too much, but any idea on who would adapt best to this kind of thing? Anything in general, in terms of the new rules, what you've heard about them?
I think you say probably I put if I had to kind of bet on someone, I bet on say someone like Mercedes.
No, just the driver specifically.
Oh, driver specifically on the car being very unpredictable.
Yeah, unpredictable car, tough to drive, new regulations. Who's a driver that would be able to adapt quickly to the change?
My friend, every time we talk about Daniel Ricciardo, he just gets very upset because we we just mock Daniel Ricciardo. So I'm not gonna mention him.
Good.
He's gonna hear this and he's just gonna be upset now. I think probably Max is probably the best, based on how he's driving right now, and based on everyone who drove the Red Bull essentially said is extremely unpredictable, extremely hard to drive. And he was extracting the most out of it. Obviously, it was geared towards him at that point. But I'd say out of everyone right now, I'd say the two who are most likely going to extract the most out of it are Lewis and Max. Just purely because they're just way ahead of everyone.
Yeah, but that's boring and obvious, so let's...
If I had to say someone else, okay, outside Lewis and Max.
Yeah, because that's... of course they would.
Fernando Alonso, probably.
Okay. Well, looking at the list of drivers, I'd say the key thing that makes...
Nicholas Latifi, I think he's going to extract the most. Why are you laughing? Nicholas is the king, bro.
Why are you exactly, bro?
Why are you laughing? He's the king of F1, bro. He's the reason Max won his championship, bro. You should thank him. You should thank him.
People have been posting... Max has his helmet.
Yeah,
it has the number 1 at the back.
Oh, they just put Latifi's
put the little axe. No, they put a little star next to it and it says "Thank you, Michael."
I don't know. I thought of Michael Schumacher for some reason.
I realised as soon as I said Michael, you'd be thinking of Schumacher. Anyway, so the key thing that makes drivers different, the best way to tell a good driver from a bad driver is when they're put in a new car who adapts quickly.
Yeah.
So, Lewis in his first season was very quick. Same thing with Verstappen. When he first got put in the Red Bull, he won his first race. George Russell did very well in the Mercedes when he was put in
I don't want to really comment as much on George because I feel like it can go one of two ways. He can adapt really, really, really well to the car and just smoke Lewis, or at least if he doesn't smoke Lewis, you go toe to toe with Lewis the whole. I think if he goes toe to toe with Lewis the whole season and it's fairly equal,
that would be very impressive for me.
I think that just achieved everything, and that shuts up everyone about how good he really is.
True, yeah, definitely.
I think I'm not really sure. The other thing is he could just be like Valtteri, basically. It could just take him a long time to adapt. I don't think it's gonna take him a long time to adapt based on he's jumped in teams before and he's won formulas in his first season.
We said this last time, he won F3 and F2 back to back.
Yeah, so he's been able to adapt very quickly to new formulas, new cars. Formula 1 he's done very well, but obviously with Williams it's quite difficult to tell. But the only thing we can go off in Formula 1 was Bahrain. There was a Bahrain.
Yeah, Sakir. Yeah.
But basically, the one thing that's good to say about that is he went into that car in 3 practice sessions and in 3 practice sessions, he got into a car that was too small for him. The seat was too small. Yeah. He wore shoes too small for him.
Yeah.
He used a steering wheel with a different layout.
Yeah.
He had never used DAS before. He didn't even know what DAS was.
Yeah.
And he's still like, they told him, don't worry about DAS, we'll fix it. Like fix it as in it doesn't move. And just essentially you drive the car. He's like, no, I want to learn what DAS is. He learned it and he's able to use it during the race weekend. I think that says everything you need to know.
And then he destroyed Valtteri. He lost qualifying by like less than a tenth or something, or less than half a tenth. It was a very small amount. Then he destroyed Valtteri Bottas on the start, led, then also overtook Valtteri in an incredible way. And did all of that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
That was a very nice overtake.
So I guess, just to end this section quickly, the ones to watch would be the people who adapt quickly and also the experienced drivers, because they know what it's like.
Sebastian.
So, Alonso, Hamilton,
Sebastian.
Leclerc's very talented. I'd say he's another one who gets... When he got put in the 2019 Ferrari, he almost won his second race. Yeah. Well, he should have won his second race, but his engine failed.
Yeah, but I'd say like the ones that really stand out for me would be probably George and Fernando.
I'd have a longer list. I'd say Alonso, Hamilton, Leclerc.
No. We said Russell. Like Max and Lewis are out of the list.
Oh, okay, right. Taking them out.
So choose two essentially after Max and
just two.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I chose like Fernando and George probably.
I would go with. I might have to just go with George and Leclerc. That might be more safe. Yeah.
Better than Alonso.
Not better than Alonso, but I feel like they'll prove. No. I feel like the Ferrari will be better than the Alpine.
No, we're talking about who's going to adapt best.
Oh, if we're talking purely drivers, Alonso and Leclerc.
Yeah. What? Are you high?
He's good, bro. He had one season in Sauber, went to Ferrari and won 2 races, and he should have won 3.
Let's go on to the next thing. Yeah, he had that like way overpowered Ferrari that was fake.
Well, yeah, but he still drove well.
Last year, I don't know. Last year, I was not very impressed.
Last year was quiet, but he was consistent. He did well. He still should have. He came very close to winning, twice. Once if he didn't bottle it at Monaco, and once if he.
Monaco was his fault. Like
that's why I said if he didn't bottle it, yeah. And then Silverstone.
You can't really ask him as much about like the other one in Baku because like everyone just. Flew
no, I said Silverstone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baku you can't.
Silverstone is not even his fault. I think just like
he was just unlucky with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
he's not going to find himself in the lead in like Silverstone basically.
True. So what else is there? What else is changing? We've done the Aero, engine stuff we've mainly covered, but the one thing is now, as we mentioned the biofuels, Shell said that they've gained some of it back. So Ferrari should technically have a decent. I mean, obviously, it's stuff they've said to the media. Other teams might have benefited as well.
Yeah, just as a fact, once the renewable energy is introduced, 20% renewables in fuel reduces your horsepower by 80 horsepower. So, like, you can add that up, obviously. They're not going to switch fully to biofuel. I think they'll switch, like, 50% by the end of this year. Most by next year. I'm not sure.
I can't remember, yeah.
But yeah, that's
Shell said they gained back, yeah, so... From that, Shell said they've, out of the 80 that everyone's lost, Shell said they've got back, I think it was like 60 or something, which is meant to be massive. So, I'm not sure. Obviously, none of the other companies have said much as far as I'm aware, but like, Shell sponsoring Ferrari is, on top of that MGUH upgrade we mentioned earlier, with this gain, Ferrari might have a legal and very good engine this time.
Yeah, I think probably like Ferrari are... Going into the next season, I'd say probably Ferrari are very, very close to Mercedes and like Red Bull, or like Honda essentially. Honda are still gonna, all their Red Bull engines are still gonna be manufactured in Japan till 2026. So Honda's essentially making them till 2026, not Red Bull. But they're gonna be very close. Like very close.
Yeah, they should be. And then, well, speaking of Ferrari, we'll get onto the budget cap.
Ooh.
So, teams spend like 400 million, as you mentioned before.
Yeah, that's mainly Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari, basically.
And then the poorer ones will spend about 100 million. The cap now is at 175. So if you're a team that's spending 140,
I think on average the lowest is like 125.
Yeah. So if you need to talk to your sponsors and you say, we're spending 125 a year right now. Mercedes is spending 400, can you give us 300? They're not going to do that. But now if you say, this is the maximum any team can spend, just give us an extra 30 million, they're more likely to say yes.
They're not going to give you way more than they think they should give you, but like...
True, but like it's a target to achieve, so maybe you'll get that over the next few years. Obviously this doesn't include, I say obviously is, but it doesn't include drivers' salaries and marketing, because that would just destroy everything.
But it does include, like, if you crash and you have to change parts, that's all included.
Yeah.
There was an argument for them actually removing, like, spare parts. So essentially, if you keep crashing, you don't pay for that. Someone had mentioned that, but it's useless, essentially.
There's an interesting conversation here about the sprint races. I've heard that there's a conversation happening that they might not happen next year. So
really?
So for sprint races to occur, everyone has to agree. So all the teams have to agree. What the top teams are saying is, we want more money for the sprint races. So they get paid a little bit extra for doing the sprint races. Not the top teams. Everyone gets paid extra for doing the sprint races. Because they need to pay for the parts, they need to pay for the engines. If there's an accident, they need to cover it. So the budget cap needs to be increased slightly. If
I think that
sprint races.
That makes sense.
It does make sense. But the argument is, I think Zach Brown said this in an interview, the top teams, he's been intentionally vague, they're asking for a bit too much money and they're not agreeing to the sprint races unless they get this extra money. So the problem with this is if they're asking for too much, it doesn't ruin, but it defeats the purpose of the budget cap if you're giving the top teams a bit too much to spend, or if you're giving everyone the opportunity to spend more but only certain teams can afford it. So this could mean that sprint races don't happen next year. Obviously this would only...
I don't mind.
I keep saying obviously, you know.
I don't think anyone minds if the sprint
No, no one cares if the sprint races don't happen. The problem is the World Motorsport Council can then just bring them back in for 2023. So either they happen in 2 years, like this year and next year, or they don't happen this year and there's still a potential for them to come back anyway.
In 2023, like they're forced in essentially.
As in FIA, World Motorsport Council, they just say like, we're doing it. If they wanted to, they could just...
Yeah, but that's the thing, since Liberty Media has come in, they haven't actually done anything. Like, everything they've done has been by unanimous consensus. So, like, if they don't all agree, they just don't do it, essentially.
But they could want to, like, sprint races, I feel like, in terms of if you're talking purely
I think they'll
they
negotiate. I think they'll negotiate in the sense that, because the teams say, oh, we want 40 million, say, extra.
Right.
But that's just my initial demand. I'm saying it because, say, I want, like, say, 20 million. But if I say 20 million, I get 10 million. So it's just like people.
But is there time for that though? Because they need to organise the sprint races, how they're going to work.
Yeah, I think probably they'll get it done very quickly, because obviously, like, the money you're spending now, like, if you get extra money, you have this mid-season to reinvest in your car.
Yeah.
And you've got, like, I think for instance, I think a better way to do it actually is, instead of saying you have a budget of 175 million, you've got 25 million for the sprint races. It has a separate budget.
Oh, everything's separate.
Yeah. In
the
sense that
even more admin.
No, but not in the sense. I mean it in the sense that you have a budget for, say, like crashes and stuff like that. Or you say run a separate car. I don't know, but like do something different in that sense. I think that. I don't know. The sprint race, I'm just not convinced by it.
I just hope it doesn't happen, to be honest. I'm not a huge fan. I quite liked making Friday interesting, but I just don't like sprint races. They were boring, realistically.
I think if they do, like, reverse grid sprint race, and it counts towards a separate championship, I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool.
But
I'd be up for that.
I think that's the thing, 175 million is a good number, because half the teams are actually below it. And like the big teams are really above it, like So basically what happens is the smaller teams are like 145 million. They still have some room to improve, but the bigger teams have to come down. But if they say extend it to 200 million, that means there's a 75 million gap between like the lowest and the highest team, which is way too big rather than 50.
The biggest one as well, actually, interestingly, is the smaller teams. If they manage to get the bigger investment, they get the bigger investment, great. If they don't, they just run how they normally run. The big teams, they have so much like resources and stuff, they now have to figure out where to place it. So they need to say, oh, we were spending 400 before. We've now lost more than half of our money. Now we need to figure out where to invest this time and money and stuff.
Yeah.
So
A lot
I
of
feel like
teams
it'll be interesting for them to figure that out.
Like Red Bull, essentially, because they have such a good aerodynamics team, they're essentially lending it out. Like it's acting as a consultancy. Now for other, like say like if a car company needs an aerodynamics team, or if I don't know, anyone who needs an aerodynamics team, they can go to Red Bull, be like, I want an aerodynamics team. They'll give them that team. So it's a way of making. It doesn't matter, because Red Bull are very good at aerodynamics, obviously.
Yeah.
So they have more people than they realistically can pay for, considering the budget.
Oh yeah.
So
that's
now
really
they have
clever, yeah.
Essentially they have the Red Bull F1 team and the people working there, and they have an extra team now that has been removed, and now they're a consultancy that they can work on whatever, like whoever comes in and needs them to work on, essentially.
Yeah.
Road car, hypercar, whatever. So that's one way of redirecting the funds to essentially make money, or at least like keep the people, keep the technology, or expertise, essentially, not lose it. Mercedes, obviously, with all the electric cars coming out and stuff, like a lot of these resources will be directed towards that. They're leaving Formula E, so they don't need it as much there.
Did you see they won the first race?
They won the
first Formula E race. They got a 1-2. That's such a Mercedes thing to do. Do you want to get onto the other way that they're benefiting smaller teams now with the testing regulations?
Yeah, okay. So the way the testing regulation works is testing in terms of Bahrain and like stuff like that is going to be the same, but it differs in terms of two things: wind tunnel time and CFD time. So for those who don't know what CFD is computational fluid dynamics. Essentially, they design the car on their PC and then they run it essentially around a corner, and they see how it actually, like, the air interacts, the downforce, all that stuff. So essentially it replaces like the actual wind tunnel testing time with why are you googling CFD of a cow?
It's a great example. Look at that.
No, so it replaces,
look at how aerodynamic it is.
Yeah, so it replaces all the stuff like you do in a wind tunnel on your PC. Basically, that's what it does. So the way essentially it works is, bro, this is distracting. Move this.
No, hold on. This is what it looks like. We'll skip this bit. Wait, where did it go? No, where's my cow? Aha, yes.
You have to zoom in all the way. That's how CFD
Look
works.
at that.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And the colors obviously indicate like pressure and stuff. Airspeed and all of that stuff. Great.
Okay, I'll get rid of it now.
Yeah, please. You have to zoom all the way out. Technical difficulties. Anyway, so the way it's arranged is...
Cool. Finally. Right, carry on.
Yeah, so the way it's arranged is the top team essentially gets about, I think, 75% of the time for both CFD and wind tunnel testing time. And then as it goes down, so Red Bull will get, like, Mercedes essentially gets 75%. I think Red Bull gets 80%. I'm not 100% sure on like the difference. I think it's about 5%. And then as you go down, I think by the end of it, Haas gets like 140% on both.
40?
So the way they regulate it is, wind tunnel testing time is very easy because it's just like times in the wind, like time spent in wind tunnel, in a wind tunnel. Whereas CFD is dominated by like time, but also like the PC stuff, like the PC components you're using. Because for instance, if you use older PC or cheaper PC components, it's gonna take way longer to run the CFD, like it's called like epoch essentially, or cycle. Whereas if you run it with like latest hardware, it's gonna take way less time. So essentially they've limited the actual number of like the PC components you're using and the time you're using. It's like an equation of both, that factors in both. And then you're kind of limited by that. So Mercedes will also get about 75%, and I think Haas gets like 140 by the end of it. And essentially how it works is you get that time at the beginning of the season, and then when you go to the very midway through the season, they essentially, so I think it's Belgium is midway, isn't it?
Yeah, Belgium's normally the last one. No, wait, hold on.
Yeah, Belgium is midway, and then the summer break. So essentially
Belgium's after the summer break. No, it's not. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So essentially by the midway point, what's going to happen is they're going to look at the table and they're going to redo the same thing. So essentially, say Mercedes by halfway point, Mercedes is last, the Mercedes get 140% of the time. Say Haas is first, they only get 75%. And the reason behind this is to stop what happened with Braun GP in 2009, where they had such a good car at the beginning, they won enough that no one could catch them. And so to stop that, they'll get less time to develop their car in the mid-season, and the other teams get more time. And it's also to stop, like, Mercedes over the past few years, the reason they've dominated is, they developed their car in the beginning of the season, got such a good car that by halfway through the season, they just focused fully on the next year's car. So they always had half a year advantage over everyone else. And now that's not actually, like, they can't do that now because all the other teams are going to have more time to develop their car and a bigger advantage over them. So essentially what's going to happen is the teams are essentially won't have like a full half a season, and so it's going to be a lot harder for teams to keep that advantage going into like the second half of the season, but then later on into like later seasons. Yeah, that's pretty much like a quick rundown of all the aerodynamic stuff.
I'm still trying to find the regulations, but we'll have to skip that part. So the interesting conversation I wanted to have with you now.
Yeah, surprising. I don't know what's coming.
Here's the thing. So I mentioned this just before we started filming.
Yeah, I don't know why it is actually. You haven't told me why it is.
No, yeah, I haven't said this. I just said that I had this point that I wanted to make, which is I've always had this theory or just idea in general. Ferrari's been in the sport from the beginning, and obviously, as any team would, if you imagine them like in football terms, like Manchester United, pretty much, like with the amount of money they have, with the amount of pool they have, they can always get the best players or drivers. They can always get, they always have the resources. That's never a problem. So throughout their history, if they have like a drought period, if they don't do so well, you can always bet on them spending money and then getting good again. So Ferrari, I think they had a bad period in the 70s or 80s or something. They disappear for a little bit. They spend money, they come back. The start of the 90s wasn't great for them. They get Michael, they do all this, and then they dominate the sport. Do you think now, with the testing time regulations and all of this, the budget cap, basically just limiting all of their resources, obviously they're still Ferrari, but without the backing of all of this, I can just spend more than all the other teams. Do you think that theory now is gone? Like, if Ferrari don't win next year and they don't do well in these next regulations, is there now no guarantee that they'll ever, like, actually come back to winning?
I think if you stay in the sport long enough, you eventually get back to winning. But
I guess so. Well, statistically, it'll be more likely, yeah.
Yeah, obviously. But that's the thing. Ferrari's been in the sport since the 50s. So obviously they're going to go down but come back.
Yeah, but, like, now, could they actually come back?
I think it'll be a lot harder. Yeah. But like they can do what Mercedes did, or like what Haas did this year, where Haas basically stopped spending the last year and just spend on next year's car from. And Ferrari has enough pull to get in good engineers. Like working for Ferrari is just I work for Ferrari, like.
Yeah.
The name is enough to get people, even if the team is performing very, very badly, the name is big enough for people to go in, like just because I work at Ferrari,
Yeah.
So basically, I don't see them struggling to get good engineers in. And I don't think if they essentially screw up like these regulations, they could just give up on a season and just focus on next year's regulations. Just be like, okay, we're going to be very bad. That's what they did last year. Yeah, we suck this year, we'll focus on next year. They jumped from like 7th to 3rd, which is a big jump. So, yeah, I think they're going to have to be way more strategic about it this time.
True.
Because they don't have that massive... Like, they used to get money from Formula 1 just because they're Ferrari. Like, nonsense. They won't have that big of an advantage now. But I think they still have... They're going to be towards the top end of the budget. So they're not going to be struggling. Yeah. Like, they're going to be maxing out their budget. They're not going to be like, we don't have enough money. They're going to be like, we don't have enough budget left. We spent all our money, basically. That's what's going to be the case. But I think we'll probably see them come back. Like, even if they go down, I think you'll see them come back. I think it'll be a lot harder for them to come back, though. True. Because they don't have that massive spending advantage. But
it's weird.
I don't think we'll see them just go into obscurity. I think if you see if they go really, really bad, and Ferrari say, we're leaving Formula 1, and by Formula 1 I mean like Liberty Media and those guys, will bend over backwards to keep.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's very true.
Even if that means increasing budgets, doing whatever they need to give Ferrari.
They will do everything. Yeah.
So I don't think we'll see the team leave at least from now.
I guess their lows
do badly for a long time. Yes.
Yeah, I think their lows could be lower. Like they could do a Williams. The Williams was obviously very successful back in the day. McLaren has also had an awful period, which, like, I'm pretty sure actually. So last year Ferrari didn't win a race. 2020 they were horrific, so they didn't win a race. That was the first time in.
Ever.
It might have been ever. Yeah, the first time ever that they hadn't won a race in back-to-back seasons.
Yes, ever.
That's an insane stat.
That says
and I feel like we could see more of that. Like.
Yeah, probably.
Mad.
I don't think we'll see like three seasons back to back, but probably.
So you think they'll win a race this year?
Probably, yeah. At some point.
That's a safe bet.
Yeah. I think though, like Formula One, like we're talking about like the new regulations. I think they've addressed a lot of the issues, but I think like the biggest issue of the cars essentially now is how big the car is.
Oh yeah.
Like not big as in like we talk about how wide the car is, but I'm talking about just how long the car is.
They're heavy now as well. They're even heavier.
I don't care as much about weight, to be honest, but as in I'm talking about length.
Yeah.
Because you see that in like street circuits mainly, but like say Monaco is very very obvious. Like Monaco for Formula E, Formula E cars are tiny compared to Formula 1 cars, and you see how easy it is to overtake because there's so much space.
Yeah.
Like if you go down the inside in that after the tunnel, you go down the inside on that left corner, you can overtake.
They love making contact as well. I found that really weird when I was watching that Formula E race.
Formula E
they love like crashing into each other and stuff.
Bro, Formula E is weird, bro. But I'm talking in terms of the size of the car, and overtaking Monaco was actually feasible. Overtaking in older Formula 1 cars at Monaco was feasible. Now it's like you saw with Max and Lewis. As long as Lewis even when Lewis if Lewis went fully to the side and just went around the corner, like as he did essentially in that final part, like after I think it was the very end of the race, after the tunnel, Max goes down the inside. Max can't overtake him because Lewis's car is just so.
The reference is Lewis was on old tyres, like extremely old, basically dead. Not just for the last couple laps, but for ages.
I think for 20 laps.
So there was an early safety car, which meant they had to stop early.
Lap 10, I think.
And then rather than putting him on the hard tyres, which everyone was put on hard, they put him on the mediums, which meant his tyres were dead for like half the race, and Max was right behind him. But he still couldn't overtake him. Any other track, Max would have got him very easy.
Max would have got him way earlier.
Exactly. And then the second one, there's also Ricciardo in 2018.
He lost a third of his power. Like he didn't have access to a third of his power, and he still won because no one could overtake.
So I think it was Vettel was right behind him for almost the whole race. He had no engine power, and he still won.
See, this is my issue. Is they've sorted out a lot of the issues, but one of the biggest issues is this was not a case in 2008, for instance, because the cars were way
even that recently the cars were still small.
But now how do you expect people to overtake in a street track, especially Monaco, where it's very tight, and the cars are massive? It makes no sense. It's not actually physically possible.
Yeah, it's
because the corners are so tight, you can't overtake. So what's I don't get that. That's just my complaint.
Do you reckon they'll get shorter eventually? But there must be a reason.
It
might be shorter. Safety. It might be something.
It is getting a bit shorter.
Yeah, I think it was 10 centimeters or something.
Yeah, but that's still massive.
Yeah. They're still huge. I guess the main thing that we haven't hit on yet is the tires.
Yeah.
So the tires are going from
13 to 18-inch.
Yes.
And they're getting covers. You can now use covers on the tires like Braun did in 2009.
Yes, the little caps on the outside.
Yeah, and you're allowed to essentially do whatever you want with them. So you can put sponsors on them.
Can you do whatever you want?
I mean by whatever you want. You can design them however you want, yeah? And you can also put sponsors on it, put whatever you want on it.
Yeah, I also saw that they might be using LEDs on them.
McLaren essentially put LED. They did that also at the testing and after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And they did that in that last image they put online. They put some LEDs. I think teams are gonna use it as a way of making the car look nice. Like as in
probably unless F1 tries to make it.
No, they said like part of the regulations is you're free to essentially put LEDs and all that stuff. Yeah.
They might just put they could just end up putting the car numbers on there or something. Crofty would desperately need that. The number of times he makes mistakes, like someone crashes out and he says the wrong name.
Yeah, true.
But they also, you know what the ugliest thing was? I think it was the tyres, the wheel covers or something, wherever it was, they were on these little shelves as they normally have them outside their garages. And it says like I turn 18 next year, which was the weirdest looking thing. Like literally just written on the tyre, it said I turn 18 next year.
That sounds weird.
Which is mad. Because if it said I turn 24 next year, I feel like Bernie Ecclestone would have tried to marry them or something.
his daughter is back in F1.
Daughter?
Yeah, Bernie Ecclestone's daughter is back in F1.
I thought it was his wife.
No, his daughter is managing something related to F1.
I thought his wife was part of the FIA.
No, his daughter is now like related somehow to like Formula 1. Yeah, daughter, yeah. And then she's doing something with F1, I don't remember. Like you can just...
Was this the picture of her and... It was them two and then Christian Horner?
I don't remember.
I know there was a picture of... I think it's his wife. I'm honestly sure it's his wife. But he's somehow...
No, go back. It says in her bio. It's like former chief executive or something. Former chief... Oh, no,
that's about Ecclestone,
Yeah.
Wait, it says this about her career.
Yeah, I don't remember too much. But one of his daughters, if you search one of his daughters in F1 or something, it'll come up. But yeah, that's kind of... This guy's weird, bro. I don't get the new tires as much. I'm not.
Are you not a fan of it?
No.
So I think they're meant to be... The window's meant to be better.
Yeah.
So if you need to heat your tyres and stuff, they'll take longer to heat up, but they stay within the operating temperature for longer.
Okay.
So, and they're also meant to be more durable as well.
I'm not a fan.
What would you ideally want from the tyres?
They'll just look weird.
Oh, you just think they look strange?
Yeah.
But I think other formulas use them.
They still look weird.
They're still not.
Yeah. But
it's strange. It's hard to get around. But I feel like with the LEDs and stuff, bit of lights in there, this stuff.
Use them.
The covers will look nice as well.
Yeah.
So, I think it will weirdly remind me of Formula E for a little bit until we get used to it.
No, I think Formula 1 is like... Formula 1's a proper sport. Formula E people... Formula E people vote for who gets like an extra power boost.
But everyone's gonna go there, you know. Liberty's probably already thinking of how to do that.
You see, one thing I actually think why they won't use LEDs is it could have potentially... It's gonna have to be powered by something in the car. And that's just extra, like, an extra thing on the car, essentially.
Yeah, his wife's FIA vice president.
Is she?
Yep.
I swear his daughter also got involved in the FIA recently.
Maybe it said that she was like commentating for Sky.
Okay, I don't know.
But that was ages ago.
Anyways. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, what were you saying about the engine covers, wheel covers?
Like it requires energy and stuff. So where is it going to be fueled by? Like the LEDs and stuff. Obviously it doesn't take that much energy, but like if you're
It's got to be solar, right? It's got to be solar.
No. What do you mean solar? I'm saying LEDs. Where are they going to put the solar panels? If it's raining, they
not panels, right? Like not massive ones. You know how like even your like calculators will be.
Yeah, but like you're not gonna put one on the tire because if it's raining, your LEDs don't work.
No, they're not gonna be like out completely in the open.
I know, but like how are they gonna get sunlight then? If it's raining, your LEDs don't work. That's like.
I mean, you probably wouldn't even be able to see them actually. How strong are they meant to be?
I don't know. I think that's why I think they'll just put like covers on it, like just stickers and stuff rather than LEDs.
Oh.
I think LEDs will be like special occasions because I think that obviously they don't require too much energy, but like that's one thing. Like you're gonna need like wiring all the way to there, get the wiring through the tires, to the cover, all of that stuff. So, but also like the wheel covers will aid in keeping the tires and like the brakes cool and all of that stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more benefits to them as well. And I guess the main thing why they're being introduced is because it smoothens the airflow and all that stuff.
Dead stuff. Formula 1's a dead sport. That's why I'm doing a podcast, man.
Nice. Okay, there was 2 more things I'd like to mention before we wrap this up. The first one, while we were having that conversation earlier,
okay,
if like less stuff flies off the car and all of this, do you think their driving style will change? Because if less damage comes off from hitting another car, not like destroying, but you know what I mean? Like if you can tap someone's front wing and like little bits won't fly off, and that won't mean that they lose 90% of their downforce. Or you hit someone's side pod, you don't crash into half their bars.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Do you think drivers are now going to be like?
I think
not
based
crash
on
into each
what,
other, but do you think they'll rub into each other a little bit?
Based on what Michael Massey did last year, people are going to be hitting each other way more, you know.
Based on what Michael Massey did, they might as well just launch each other off the track.
Yeah. There's also like with wheel covers, it's probably going to be a bit harder to get like damage in terms of like your tires because the wheel covers are coming out a bit.
Less punctures.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I hope it doesn't turn into like, you know, like that game at the arcade where you're just meant to like keep hitting
bumper cars.
Yeah, bumper cars. But I don't think it'll be that bad.
No, but do you think? I feel like there'll be more contact.
Probably, yeah.
That would be weird.
To be fair, like one of the seniors of the FIA came out and was like, he said something along the lines of, "If necessary, Michael will go."
So this sparked all of the conversation.
Which means Michael Massey is leaving.
Maybe.
Yes.
So the headlines were that they're considering, or they're now considering, Michael Massey leaving as an option.
So Michael Massey is leaving.
I think they're gonna do everything they can to keep him.
Yeah, no, he's leaving. Anyways,
we'll see. I guess we don't know. Like this is the thing; they still haven't sorted this out. We're not gonna know anything until.
When's Drive to Survive coming out?
Normally a couple weeks before. I'd say early March, most likely.
I wanted to watch it over the break, you know, just like relax in bed and watch like Lewis crash into Max. And see what, like, I'm excited to see what they do with Silverstone. If they don't do anything with Silverstone, bro.
Do you know what it is? I feel like I'm just gonna watch it for 5 minutes, see Will Buxton's face, and then turn it off.
You know, I haven't actually watched the whole like Drive to Survive any of it, purely because I just get bored. Because I know the ending. I have to watch it now because like obviously you're gonna like comment on it and stuff, but I usually get very bored. I have recommended it to people and they got into F1 because of Drive to Survive.
Yeah, I recommend it for other people too.
Did you see like Valtteri Bottas? I was like, you know Valtteri Bottas? And they're like, yeah. I was like,
you know he was like naked on the screen.
Yeah, I saw that picture. Yeah, that was something I did not want to see.
Strange lad.
Yeah.
You know he's done it again. I think that was a picture of him a couple weeks ago doing a cartwheel in the snow, like butt naked.
No, it was on the beach.
Oh, was it a beach?
Yeah,
it was a beach, yeah.
How did you confuse a beach for the snow?
I don't know because I haven't seen the picture. I'm not looking at it.
You're like, oh my god, what is this? And then you just skip.
That's strange.
To be fair, like, thank God, like, someone put like a massive like thingy in front of him, so you don't actually see like him naked. That was my saving grace, you know.
What a man. And then the last bit quickly is, I thought it would be interesting. After I did the little bit about tuned at the end of the last one, I thought I'd have a look at what people have said concept cars are going to look like. So I've got some old concept cars, right? Let's see, where do we start? Okay, obviously, aerodynamic cowl. You've seen this, alright. So this is what Ferrari's concept car looks like. The quality is awful, but actually on the screen it doesn't look too bad over here. Ferrari made this concept car, I want to say about like 2014. I think there was a period in like between 2014 and 16. All the teams got really interested in making concept cars. This is what they said like a 2050 kind of car would look like.
That looks weird, bro.
I quite like it.
You know that it looks like one of those hover cars that you imagine in like sci-fi movies?
It does, yeah. There's no halo as well, obviously, because this was made definitely pre-2018. But yeah, it looks quite nice. At least I'm a fan of it.
You have to zoom out all the way.
Now I'll just press this. This is another Ferrari one, actually. I should have made you guess what the brand was. But this Mario Kart looking thing is the Ferrari Sigma. Do you want to guess what year they made it?
1970.
I think it was actually 69, yeah.
Oh,
that's insane.
Oh, no.
But yeah, they made this to try and be like a car of the future. And I don't think they were that far off. Like, this does look like some of the cars.
No, that just looks like something from Back to the Future.
It does look like a bumper car. It looks like a Mario Kart.
It looks weird. It looks like the tuned car.
I feel like I've seen F1 cars like this before.
No.
Not
just
like
skip this ugly, bro.
Alright, you're not a fan. Some of the other ones are quite nice. Okay, that's the logo. This is a McLaren's car.
What the hell?
It looks so much nicer on the
Okay, just skip.
What do you think?
I know, right? Because this is very pixely.
So what they've done is these are meant to be like self-regenerating tires or something. With the LEDs and stuff. They don't get punctures. There's meant to be loads of information fed to the driver. Closed cockpit. No rear wing.
Makes no sense. Actually, half of their design makes no sense.
There's meant to be loads of AI and stuff included in it as well.
Yeah, that's just horrible.
You're not a fan. I don't think you're gonna like any of these. This is the Renault. It's meant to be very similar. Loads of AI and stuff.
Like, it makes no sense. It ruins the sport if you put in AI into it. Because, like, what's the driver doing?
I think it's meant to be like
you don't get
punctures.
Like, if you don't get punctures from the tires, like, that makes no sense. Like, your tires are always gonna get punctures.
I feel like they're gonna get there eventually. Probably.
No. Like, literally makes... Because whatever the material is gonna get a puncture eventually. Like, it's gonna wear and it's gonna tear eventually.
There'll definitely be...
When you do advanced materials, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Wow. Big master student in that. Yeah. What do you think? Do you at least like this one?
No, I like the McLaren more, to be fair.
Really? So this one, the key thing about this one is the cockpit is open. It's closed, but the material it's made out of is meant to be some really strong something.
I'm guessing.
And then you can see through it.
Yeah, that's it.
Not a fan.
You're just staring at the driver's legs, basically.
Pretty much.
That's weird.
It is a bit useless. I don't know why they opened up that bit specifically. It would have been nice.
They're literally just making sci-fi cars. These are not Formula 1 cars.
These are all the official teams making official... this is the steering wheel from earlier. I think there was another one. Oh, is that it? I think that's it.
Thank God. Oh my God, that was just... My eyes hurt.
I quite liked some of them, to be fair.
The McLaren is the best, probably. I like that. Or the Ferrari is actually...
You hated the McLaren.
The Ferrari is the best. The Ferrari is the best.
Which one?
The, red one.
the first one or the go-kart? Yeah, that is all of
red one.
So the Renault actually... Oh yeah, I'll go back in a sec. The Renault, I saved it. I forgot I saved these files. It's predicting what cars will look like in 2027. So
yeah, they're very far off then.
I mean... What is this one? Oh wait, hold on.
Technical difficulties. We are very sorry.
So this as a 2027 car.
Yeah, that makes no sense. That looks like a shovel, bro. Honestly,
it does. I can't.
It looks like the car is just shoveling snow. It's not a Formula 1 car. It's made to shovel snow. Like, oh, sorry, I did that in front of my phone. But it looks like a car is just going in and is just gonna shovel snow. Like, what is this?
It does. I still like the look. If it had a rear wing, I'd quite like it.
They're just making like they were competing in who can make a more ridiculous car, basically.
Yeah, I sort of see that. There's worse ones. Like, these were meant to be, like, I picked out the nicest ones. There are way more, and they're really weird. Maybe I'll come back. I'll come back with the next one for more, maybe.
I just feel sad. I hope they'd never introduce, like, AI to Formula 1, because I feel like it just ruined the sport. They take the human element out of it. Like, drivers would... Like, imagine if AI just, like, for every corner, it adjusted everything for the car.
Oh no, that would be ridiculous.
But that's essentially what they need.
They're probably gonna do that, yeah.
Like, that just ruins everything, because that means the driver's all he does is just press the accelerator, the brake, and just go like turn. Next thing they know, like, it's a self-driving car. Like, the driver's just like doing that, and then like he doesn't even need to turn the steering wheel. He's just monitoring everything. Next thing, he's not pressing on the brake and accelerator. He's just kind of like, can I have my tea?
He's just sat there. Nah, we'll see. I guess it's all in the hands of the FIA. It all depends on where they want to go with it. How much AI they want to allow the teams to
I want to say I have trust in the FIA, but I really don't.
No one has trust in the FIA.
Yeah, I feel like in 20 years we won't be watching Formula 1 because they've just ruined the sport.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well done. Well, leave suggestions for what sport you want us to cover in 20 years.
Yeah.
I reckon, considering Youssef's age at that point, we'll probably be doing like golf or something.
I don't like golf, to be fair.
Nah, you will do. It comes with the maturity of the age you'll be at that point, obviously.
I'm a granddad at that point, so I'll like golf. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. 20 years, that's enough time for you. So, yeah.
I'm just gonna go quiet because you're calling me old.
Well, I guess I'm doing the outro. So, thanks for listening again. We will be back next week with something. We haven't decided yet, to be honest, but
we'll make a surprise for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Clearly,
I think next week we're gonna be doing an episode on predictions for the next season, essentially.
Yeah, hopefully the chamber video is out by then, because I really want to do it based on that.
Yay! Thank you guys for listening.